Yes, so I formally welcome Sherlane, and today our topic is insights on transitional careers and mega trends impacting the accounting industry and the wider business community. Before I introduce Shailan, let me also let you know about our trust, the Migrant Career Support Trust. So I'm Gary, I'm the chair of the trust, and we have a small team. We started just last year we had started this, and I think we started this organization at a very opportune time. We didn't know COVID was coming, but we did know that, migrants do have a problem in settling into mainstream careers in New Zealand. So we strive for excellence. We strive to help migrants find the right pathways to settle into mainstream careers. So it's not about just getting your first job. We are trying to help and guide everyone in the community to strive for better and maybe break the glass ceiling. And so we have a very good role models in the community, just like Sherlane himself, who have kind of broken the glass ceiling, and they have shown the path to how we can do things. And that's another point which we try to do through our trust. Our workshops are conducted by successful migrants in the community who've been there, done that, have also gone through the struggles, and they are happy to share what they've learned over the years, what they did right, what they did wrong, so that it helps our current and the future generations. So that's about us. We have been doing a lot of webinars this year. Obviously, we used to do workshops once upon a time, and we hope to start them again. However, online sessions do help to get more people from the convenience of their home. Also, to let everyone know, we will be recording this session, and it will be available on our YouTube channel as well later on if you want to go back in, and we will share Shailan's details with all of you. So just a quick formal introduction about Sherlane. I'm sure everyone is excited to hear from him, seeing from the number of people who are already dialed in. So Sherlane is the education manager at MYOB. He's passionate about helping students transition from the education sector into meaningful employment. His career has been diverse, having worked in sales and advertising for 3 large media companies after moving to New Zealand from the UK in 2010. And he is now leading the education channel for MYOB. He builds key strategic partnerships with education institutions and student-focused groups to create a program that provides students with training, support, and networking opportunities so that they enter the workforce job ready. So that's exactly what we want to do here in the trust, and that's why Sherlane is here as a speaker, as an expert, to guide us through that.
Excellent, thanks, Gary. I appreciate that, and great to be involved and supporting this trust. We're all in the same position, new to this country, or obviously not this being the place of our birth, and so it's great that there's organizations like this that can support, we can support each other. And I do appreciate on a Saturday morning, everyone joining. So Gary's already highlighted the agenda. I'll be presenting for about 20 minutes, and then we will allow most of the time for Q&A. And in the Q&A, hopefully you guys, the audience, can direct where the conversation goes, cover anything that I may have missed in the presentation. But we're all here. Everyone can share their advice, their feedback, their comments. So it's not just myself or even Gary. We want you to share your thoughts as well. So I moved here 10 years ago, the back end of 2010, from the UK to New Zealand. I wanted to work abroad, was the reason why I looked beyond the UK to work and to carry on my journey. And I was limited to English-speaking countries, and so. Like any Brits, probably the dream was Australia, but I'm thankful that I made it over to New Zealand instead. The Kiwis are very accommodating, and I've enjoyed every minute here. I was just mentioning to Gary, I used to work for the Yellow Pages New Zealand. They're the ones who actually helped me come over. So I met with them in 2010 in London. And so was fortunate to have a job to come to. And then I worked for a couple of other media organizations before moving to MYOB. So this should not be new to anyone. Business has changed, the workplace has changed. When I was creating the slide, it always makes me, a wry smile in terms of how, when I was younger, you were looking forward to having your cubicle. You were looking forward to going to the office where you had your own little space to do your job, and everyone was in silo, and it was just the way the workplace was. And then you see the transition to a more open plan office. This is Google, and a lot of the tech companies paved that way in terms of encouraging collaboration, encouraging innovation and creativity through people working together. But now the office is very much your bedroom. I'm in my bedroom conducting this webinar. You guys are all at home, or you could be anywhere. And all of a sudden in 2020, most people's personal lives and professional lives have collided. And you'll have your laptop, you'll have your devices, but you'll have your kids, you'll have your family, your pets, whoever else is in your household, very much part of your office. And so this will continue to evolve, and now you'll find people onboarding remotely, continuing to work remotely. And so this will continue to evolve. And I think, how can companies get that balance? And also for those looking, job seekers, or even those employed, thinking about their careers, knowing and accepting that this is the new normal, and that companies, you may never step foot in an office while you're working for that company. They may not have an office. And I think that's definitely something that all organizations are going to be looking at, is their actual office space, the workplace. Do they need that? And they can save on that cost to help them achieve their goals. This quote from Charles Darwin, I think, is as relevant now as it was when he first said it, in terms of it's not the strongest or the most intelligent that survives, but the most adaptable. And I think everyone on this call has been adaptable to an extent. Otherwise, you wouldn't be on this call. You wouldn't be in New Zealand. You've obviously adapted to a new environment, and will continue to do so. And so that is a key skill, a key trait that I think everyone, professionals, businesses, whatever stage of your career, you're going to need, especially because things are just changing so fast. I think, change is not new, but how the speed at which it's happening, the acceleration, is what is where people, I suppose, the challenge comes in terms of keeping up with that. And so continue to be adaptable is very important. And we talk about transitional careers, thinking about, whatever the new role is, the next job is, what can you take from your previous and transfer across? And a lot of the soft skills, people even call the hard skills, are what you will need to take with you. So very important in terms of highlighting adaptability. Let's just take a look back at 2008. So going back about 12 years in New Zealand, before I was here, maybe before many of you were here, and you had 1.5 million mobile phone subscribers, roughly the same number of internet subscribers. And these were the top 5 brands in the world. So you think of like Nokia, IBM, GE, along with Microsoft and Coca-Cola. And 96% of Kiwis had a landline connection. I moved into a new apartment last year. I do not need a landline connection. I don't have one. I don't think I'll ever have one again. But this was the world that we lived in. And we fast forward to today, and now you have 6.49 mobile phone subscribers in New Zealand. So more than actual people. And even with all the people returning due to COVID, I think it's about 1.3 mobile phones to each Kiwi. Internet subscribers in line with the population, but we're not talking about landline connection. We're talking about cloud services. And again, given how many industries, how many businesses are going to be working remotely, they're going to be able to access their information, their data, their services remotely. And so this stat was pre-COVID, but revenue from cloud services in 2019 was about $582 million. It was forecast to reach $1 billion by 2023. I'm pretty sure we're going to reach that a lot earlier, just because the last 6 months has really accelerated the push for businesses to have cloud services. And if we look at the top 5 brands now, the tech companies really highlighting and really holding that. And so Amazon, Apple, and Google have replaced those other stalwarts, those other big organizations from previous years. To be fair, I'm surprised Coca-Cola are still there. And I would not be surprised if in the next few years they're replaced by another tech giant, just given how much the impact technology is having on everyone's professional and personal lives. So there's two sides of the coin in terms of the change and what's happening in business, in terms of, are you excited about the potential to reduce tasks or fear the automation that is happening? Do you embrace technology or dismiss it? The CEO of Microsoft in 2007 said that the iPhone would not have any significant market share, and how wrong the top guy at Microsoft was. He almost dismissing Apple and the iPhone. And so even those, at the top of their game, at the top of, one of the biggest brands in the world, can get it wrong. And then that's just the reality, because it's so difficult to predict what's going to happen. But I think for us and for you guys on the call, that middle question is really the one that's so important. Are you going to be excited about the potential to upskill? Lifelong learning relates to everyone, not just young people, not just students. Again, how quickly things are changing means that we have to keep learning, because what we learn yesterday or today may not be relevant tomorrow. But if we fear the changes that are happening to a lot of roles, then that's going to obviously stop you progressing, and make it a lot more challenge to transition to the next stage of your career. So a lot of it's mindset. A lot of it's, how do you think about what is happening, and how do you adapt to that? But I think being excited, embracing it, and utilizing it is definitely going to help you. So we'll touch on some emerging technologies, and if we look at artificial intelligence and machine learning, we talked about Apple 2008, nowhere near the top companies. Now probably the biggest and top brand in the world, and how quickly their technology is moving on. And so the iPhone 4 in 2010, 100 times faster than their Mac in the 80s. A few years ago, they released the AirPods. The hardware is getting smaller, but the software computes more power than the original iPhone. And then last year, I was surprised that they moved into other areas. They released the Apple Card. So they have the footprint, they have the data, they have the customers, they have the tools and resources to look at other areas like financial services. And so you've got big tech companies looking at other areas. How can they support their customers, businesses, as well as the consumer? And so this just gives you an idea of how far computer power is going, and who knows what 2030 is going to look like in terms of what will be out there. But I talked about dismissing it and fearing what is happening, and could a robot do your job? And that's a question that a lot of people are asking, and is out there. And so there's research by a Australian econometrics company, Alpha Beta, that released a couple of years ago, but we share it because of the depth that it went into. So they looked at thousands of roles, but within each role, they looked at thousands of tasks that each role does to work out what percentage can be automated potentially in the next 5, 10, 15 years. So you can just type in particular roles, for example, a welder. Now, according to this research, 76% of what a welder does can be automated. So 3 out of 4 tasks can be automated. So if I was in this industry or a similar industry, I'd be thinking about what skills can I potentially take into other roles, other industries. Now, this could be in a few years, 5, 10, 15 years, again, who knows? But the reason why, as I said, we share this is because just the depth that it went into. And so therefore, we sort of believe in it a little bit more than what is some other information out there. In terms of accountants, now MYOB is an accounting software company and we partner with thousands of accountants across Australia and New Zealand. According to this research, only 29% of what an accountant does can be automated by the technology out there. So a lot of it is human skills. Now that's pleasing for us because we work with a number of accountants, but this also goes against a lot of what's out there in the media. A lot of information, a lot of reports say that accountants are the first ones on the chopping block when it comes to automation and the technology out there. Whether you choose that or this, whatever report you choose to believe, 100% the role is changing. That's a fact. So therefore, it's important to understand that the role is changing, but also that a lot of it is human skills and how can someone really utilize that. At MYB, we have 2,000 staff and the majority are within the development space, those building the software. So we have a number of software developers and only 17%, again, according to this research, what an accountant does can be automated. So again, a lot of human skills involved in building the software that a lot of people are obviously using. So now with all that information, you've got AI, machine learning, computer power, we're going to be producing a lot of information. And any device that can be connected will be connected to the internet, not just your laptops, your phones, your tablets, but you've got smart homes, smart fridges will tell you when you've run out of milk and eggs. Wearable technology will keep track of your health and your exercising. And this is all producing information, data. And it's predicted by 2025 that 75 billion devices will be connected to the internet. And so what does a business do with that? What do people do with that? How do we use that information? We know that businesses need to be data driven. And Alec Ross was the former innovation advisor to Hillary Clinton, said that data is the raw material of the information age, like iron was for industrial, land for agriculture. And so whoever has access to that has economic and political power. But from a business's point of view, you've got to be able to access this data to give you business power. But we've got to remember the people and the nature of the workplace, which we've already touched on a little bit, because it's not all about the technology nor the design. A lot of roles still rely on human skills, those soft skills that I've already touched on. And it's just so important for us not to forget. Let's embrace the technology. We're all here on Zoom doing this call instead of in person. And how can we just take that further to provide value and achieve whatever our roles and our businesses strive towards. So this is Google, and there was an image earlier of their offices. They will still continue to invest in office space. They may not need as much or for as often, but they have food, sleep pods, exercise rooms, massage rooms, different meeting areas. And there's a reason why they do this, is to keep good staff, to attract good staff, but also to keep you in the office a little bit longer, a little bit more productive. If you need to go and have a rest, go and have a rest. You don't need to go home. And so how can they make the workplace innovative, creative? How can they make you productive, but also looking after your health and well-being? At the moment, Melbourne is in lockdown. We have a lot of staff in Melbourne. We're actually waiting for a new office. And once the restrictions lift over there, then our staff based in Melbourne are waiting for a new office space to go into. And even given what's happening, we are still investing in making sure that we have a space for people to use as and when required. The other thing to think about is now we have the most generations in the workplace at one time, and Generation Alpha is not far behind the rest of us. And so many of you will be in a job where you may be reporting to someone younger than you, or having someone who is reporting to you that is your senior. Used to be the older you get, the more senior you got. That is not the case anymore. And so how do we manage all these generations, all these different backgrounds, all these different skills? If we look at the people just on this call, could be from all parts of the world, and how do we utilize all of that experience, all of that skills? Very important. And again, even for yourselves, how do you get the most out of it, collaborating with your peers, with your colleagues, to achieve whatever the company's purpose and goals are? So organizations really need to think about the people that they need to win, and that's you guys on the call, identifying that talent, and then how are they going to keep them engaged? And I think these are key questions that everyone needs to be asking when they go to an interview, because ultimately a company needs to make sure that they're keeping their staff engaged, and as productive as they can be, having a good environment, a good culture. And the challenge now, obviously, is that they may not be all in the same place. I touched on MYB having 2,000 staff. At one point this year, effectively, MYB was managing 2,000 offices because everyone was working from home. And how do we engage with 2,000 workplaces, 2,000 people, to achieve our goals? So we've taken all that information at MYB and really used it to help us with our transformation. We've been around for 30 years. We were around before the internet. And so we've been hugely disrupted. If we just put aside this year, we've got new competition in the market, new technologies in the market, even just something like the internet, which we potentially can take for granted, has heavily disrupted us as an organization, because we didn't need to worry about the internet prior to it coming along. And so we've used all that to make sure that we're still a relevant accounting software organization. And this is who we used to be. So you could go into a Harvey Norman and O Lehman and buy the product off the shelf. And that was the way we interacted with our customers. And if you look at our website back in 2010, we're promoting DVDs, and people would be able to download updates and then install them. And so this was potentially relevant for that time, but obviously not relevant for now. And so a huge shift as an organization. And one of the ways that we have achieved that is making sure that we have a clear purpose. Our vision is to help more businesses in Australia and New Zealand start, survive, and succeed. And if we think about what's happening now, the survival part becomes even more important, but also in economic downturns, and when things aren't as good, we've seen a lot of companies start. So there's a lot of opportunities for new businesses to come to the fore during recessions, and provide a solution for a particular pain point. So we have a clear vision now, and we also use this very much for when we're interviewing, and looking for people that may share the same purpose as us. As an organization, we look at our values. So, and again, we use this for our interview process, because we want to have people join the company that share our values, that can add to our values, especially if you think about collaboration. and that impact. And so, is there a new way that we can work together? Is there a new way of doing things? And that's what we look for when we're hiring people, and especially that passion and drive for achieving our vision. And now we have a number of solutions which are online. You can use anywhere, anytime, any device. We still have some products on that journey to move into the cloud, but that will be ongoing. And so we really transformed as an organization to make sure that we are relevant for the small, medium enterprises and large companies that use our software, as well as accountants and bookkeepers that we partner with. So we have solutions for every business, all big and small, from accounting software to enterprise resource planning. And we operate really in that 0 to 400, 0 to 500 space. Even with the ERP systems, it's sort of that mid to large market that we operate in. And we have payroll software, whether you've got a few staff or a few hundred. And this is our website now, a lot more cleaner, no mention of DVDs, and obviously relevant to the time that we're in now. So a lot different to what our website was back in the day. And this is some images of our office. So we're not Google, but in our own way, we want to create an environment which is innovative, will allow our staff to be creative and productive, but as well as looking after their health and well-being. So this is, again, a lot of companies want to make sure or need to make sure that they have an environment that will allow their staff to flourish as best as they can. And talking about disruption, and we've been disrupted, but our partners, the accountants and bookkeepers that we work with, have been disrupted. And so we see a vision for the future of the industry, which is pretty much happening now, and we call that the connected practice. And at the heart of it is the accountant, and where the free call workflows, transactional processing, compliance, and advisory all collide, all working in real time with real data. And basically our software will help with a lot of the transactional process and a lot of the compliance, allowing accountants to unlock their expertise and advise and empower businesses, SMEs, to make decisions that will help them achieve their goals, all the while making sure that the practice, the accounting firm, are able to run as efficiently as possible. And so this is what we call the connected practice. And then, as I said, at the heart of it is the accountant. And I touched on where we believe that they're still very much relevant, and how they can embrace technology. And there's a lot of opportunity in the advisory services. It presents a huge market, valued at 6.86 billion in Australia and New Zealand. In the last couple of years, we've seen some real big growth. So this is where that role is changing. You could have been a successful accountant in the 90s and the 2000s, but doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be successful now, because a lot of what can be automated is being automated. But what that means is that accountants can provide a lot more value, and that's how their role is changing. That transition from a lot more transactional, a lot more compliance, to a lot more value, a lot more advisory. And 79% of SMEs want their advisor to help them grow their business. There's a lot of initiatives out there now to help SMEs, and who do they turn to? They should be turning to their accountant, their bookkeeper, to help them implement them, to help them survive and ultimately succeed. And we've also started using AI into our software. So we have a product called MYOB Advisor, which analyzes a lot of the data that is in a company's accounting software, and then provides a report that the accountant uses to provide actionable insights and recommendations to a business to help them achieve their goals. And as I said, it could just be to survive, but ultimately help them to be successful. And so this is a software for the accountants. It's not to replace the accountants, but it's for the accountants to use and have those conversations with the customers that they work with. We also, as an organization, partner with other software. So our software takes care of 85-90% of the accounting functions that a business would need. But then there's other software out there that will look at a particular industry or pain point. So you've got hospitality, cooking the books, for example, which will integrate with MYB, which means that data is flowing from different software. And again, just allowing accountants and businesses more information to then see what it's telling them and how they can achieve their goals. We also, as an organization, have MYB Academy, which is online e-learning, free e-learning resources. So anyone on the call, anyone interested in learning MYB can go on there. There's training for small business products, for bigger business products, and for products that accountants and bookkeepers use. So you can sign up and then enroll in the whole course or particular aspects of it. And so encourage you guys that are interested in learning accounting software to go on and set yourselves up. And then there's a whole range of different courses that you guys can run through. We also have a number of reports, and so keeping up to date with what's happening in terms of the mid-market. Our radar report really looks at the opportunities for the accounting industry. We run a business monitor report, which we survey hundreds of businesses frequently to see what the market is telling us. And I'm biased, but I was very pleased to see that we were able to release a number of business preparedness guides this year due to COVID-19 to help businesses on their journey and run in a challenging time. So whatever company you're interested in, whatever industry you're interested in, I encourage you to look at what information is out there. And one way of doing this is actually to follow a company's social media, not just their website. If you go to the MYB website, we're going to try to sell you accounting software. So the key thing here is how do you actually find out more about the company and what they have, is if you follow them on social media. Any of those on the call interested in accounting and bookkeeping, you have Chartered Accountants Australia, New Zealand, and CPA Australia. They obviously have a number of learning and events and training resources. Those interested in bookkeeping, you've got the Institute of Certified NZ Bookkeepers here, but also there's a new Qualified Bookkeepers Association, the NZ Qualified Bookkeepers Association. And so I encourage you guys, depending on which path you want to go down, to utilize what association is out there to support you and the members within that particular industry. So there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of support out there from associations. And then looking at online tools, and so LinkedIn, if you aren't using it, then take advantage of it. It's a free tool, and that's how it's going to help you to build your network, especially in New Zealand. They say 75-80% of jobs are through networking. So and the majority aren't advertised. So if you want to be an accountant, connect with accountants. If you want to be a CEO, connect with CEOs. Whatever the industry, the role is, there's over 700 million people on LinkedIn. The world's a lot smaller place on the internet, and you'll be able to learn and connect from there. From me, I didn't have any experience in the education space, so I had to utilize and build my connections there. You've got the Career Academy and other organizations that are also training MYOB through online learning, and organizations like meetups, which allow you to build your network and connect with like-minded people. So just in terms of the presentation part, encourage you to be adaptable, embrace the change, be curious about technology, actively finding new ways to use it. We're all Zoom experts now. A lifelong learner and a lifelong teacher. So keep learning and keep teaching as well. Share your knowledge, share your expertise. And lastly, be resilient. Whether we've handled the lockdown well or not, we've all naturally built up resilience. Fail forward, keep moving on, look at what opportunities are out there. Take advantage of them.
Thank you so much, Sherlane. I think this is wonderful session and lovely points you shared. I also particularly like the fact that you said not only keep learning but keep teaching.
Yes.
That's a very good point.
I
Yeah.
think, and especially with younger people that I deal with, uh, experience just doesn't necessarily mean expertise anymore because of how quickly things are changing. And everyone has to offer, a lot of it's, opinions and just trying to analyze the information as best we can. So, yeah,
Okay.
learn and teach.
Yes, yes. I think that's a very good point. I would encourage anyone who wants to put down a question. I think you can unmute yourself.
Did you have any initial questions, Gary?
Yeah. I had one very key thing we wanted to, like you touched upon, how to get those courses on bookkeeping. So what I want to know is, like you said, on MYOB itself, there are some online courses to do. So are they certified courses? Does MYU provide an online certification? If someone
No, so they're not certification as such. We do have certification for those that then eventually become our partners. And so there's an opportunity there, but that really depends on the individual and then the company that they're working on. So it wouldn't be certified as such, but in terms of software or any software, once you learn how to use it, then you will have knowledge of it. There are other organizations, like I said, that we partner with that will provide assessments and then certificates on whatever that course there. So I just encourage people to do their research and then work out what do they want, ultimately what do they want to achieve and where do they want to go out. And then whether they want to go down the bookkeeping route, so you've got some associations there, the accounting route, you've got associations there, and they'll be able to help and support you as well.
Okay. Also, in terms of transitioning careers, like in today's environment, a lot of people are jumping from maybe a hospitality industry or tourism sector as well. So what's a good starting point? Should a person look at becoming a bookkeeper first or then transition into accounting?
Yeah, so I think ultimately, firstly, whatever your experience is, think about what skills you've developed, and the one key thing is any retail and hospitality. There's a lot of soft skills, a lot of human skills, communication, and dealing with people, which is difficult. It's not easy, and so utilize that. Take that on to the whatever career path you want to go down, and then work out whether it's the bookkeeping route that you want to go into, and then potentially further down accounting or straight into accounting. Again, I think one thing that COVID-19 has allowed people is just to take a bit of a breath and reflect on what you actually want to achieve. And so there's opportunity there to do so. But there is a lot of support out there. I see there's a question come through. Are
From
there any government schemes for adult learners to upskill and reskill? There are. There's one actually by the Ministry of Education, I believe, and along with some other organisations. I'm not too sure if it's called potentially maybe Connected.
Connect, yeah, there's a connect
Yes. Yeah.
UBT.nz, yeah.
That's it. And so there's a lot of potential skills out there. There's a lot of scholarships as well. So look for the funding. Find out where the funding is out there. So potentially there will be support for anyone, especially looking to change careers.
Yeah.
And those fields that where they're still looking for a number of people, where there may be a shortage, there will be extra support out there. So again, I think it comes back to doing that research and utilizing. So before you even potentially sign up to a course, see if there's anything out there that will help you pay for that course if there is a cost involved.
On that, I will also want to recommend, we got a notification from MSD, the Ministry of Social Development, that you can even approach Work and Income. And after
Yep.
the government has released some funding where work and income is also helping in some of training, apprenticeship kind of situations. So please think of that as well.
Yep,
Asking help and support from that quarter.
of
We'll
course.
take the next question, Sherlane.
Yep. Do you have any data statistics or just rough estimate of business in NZ that using MYB compared to other software? So we have roughly 1.2 million businesses that use MYB across Australia and New Zealand. In terms of this side of the world, I believe that we have the most users, most businesses that use our products, but they're not necessarily all online. And so where someone like Xero may have some more online users than us, but we are still in that, a lot of our businesses are in that transition from desktop to online. And so there's opportunity there. In terms of payroll in New Zealand, 30%, roughly a third of Kiwis are paid using the MYB product. But we also know that there's, if not the same, 30-40% of businesses do not use a payroll product to pay their staff, they're doing it manually. So a lot of opportunity there, potentially. So there's some sort of rough estimates of where we are as an organization.
Okay, lovely. So let's go to the next question.
Yeah.
Can you read out would you want me to read out the questions?
No, that's fine. I've got it here. So in this COVID-19 situation, do you recommend finding stability or keep preparing for the career change? I think that job security just no longer exists. And that was prior to COVID-19. We can leave a company, but also a company could leave you in a sense. And as an organization, they're going to have to keep restructuring and transforming the way they operate just because of how quickly things are changing. I don't think you should expect to be made redundant, but I don't think you can be surprised by it now just because things can change so quickly. And so look for what career that interests you, and by all means, obviously you want a bit of stability, but be aware that things can change very quickly. And that could be your choice as well as the company deciding that they want to go a different avenue. So job security as a whole, I just don't believe exists.
Can I just add a
of course.
point and very important point to talk about in today's environment? And I'll just share a personal experience here on job security. And I think you'll say it very rightly, it doesn't exist. It's a mindset, actually. I've been into a working environment where 15 years of my career I was doing jobs, and it took a lot on me to change that mindset. And after I've worked in 12 companies and left 12 companies, and then I just realized that job security doesn't exist, and very true even before COVID. So it's actually a mindset, and maybe I would encourage everyone to even think beyond that job. And the reason why we've done this workshop today as well is, you can take up tools like this bookkeeping and all that. Think of starting a new career as a freelancer. If you can get 1 or 2 clients, that's all you need to start yourself independently. And you never know, in a year or two, you may be having 10 clients. So
that's it.
Yeah. So
yeah, and like I said, there's a lot of opportunity for businesses to start.
Yes.
We've just released a startup guide at MYB. So if you have a dream, then we'll try to help you get there, basically. And there's some real good tips on how you start a company. There's a lot of support out there for the startup space. So utilize what you can and out there. So there's a question from a HR perspective. The learning can be accessible for free, just for the overview to improve the knowledge about the software. Look, I think any software that's out there that will help you with whatever career path is there, then if there's free trials or any learning courses, then take advantage of them. LinkedIn Learning have a number of courses out there, even YouTube as well. So I think just think about what the path is, and then what tools you would maybe potentially using within that job, and get yourself familiar with it. Even brushing up on your basic Word and Excel and PowerPoint and those sort of software is very important now, because you're going to be using them, and also using them remotely as well. So just even if you think it's quite simple software or more complex software, embrace the technology and work out what you need to use, and get familiar with.
Yeah. Okay, next question.
Do you have any advice on how I can make my work experience from my home country relevant or value-adding factors? So look at the skills. So ultimately, I believe all experience can be relevant. Don't discount any experience from wherever it may be, and even if it's in a different industry. So before I joined MYB, I had no experience of dealing with educators, with dealing with education institutions or students. The last time I spoke to a student was when I was a student. And if MYB was looking for someone with that experience, then there's nothing I could do. I could not make up that experience. But they needed someone to start building relationships with this sector. And that's the experience I had in other sectors. So I could build relationships, I could deal with different people, and I could show that from the other roles that I had. So it was about transferring skills. And I've been there for 5 years now. So whatever your experience is, really look at the key skills that you were developing, and then where you would take that into another area. And soft skills, they're the ones that are transferable. If you're looking at retail and hospitality, when you're dealing with people, when you go into maybe professional services, you're still dealing with people. They're the skills that are transferable and that will help with your transition. So just maybe look at what you've done, and that key skills part, and then even think about what skills you actually enjoyed using and developing, and what skills you want to continue. So for me, I don't have any technical skills, right? So I rely on my soft skills. I need roles where I can talk, when I can communicate, when I can build relationships. That's what I love doing. That's what I'm interested in. So they're the roles that I'd be looking for. Always customer facing, always front office, not back office. That's what I'm interested in. But if you're interested in back office, then that's fine. So again, working that out is what's going to help you.
Can you just add one small point there, Sherlane?
Mm.
So yeah, it's very, very well said what Sherlane was saying about the skills. And actually, I want to point out that we've had a very detailed discussion on this in a prior webinar. If you can go to our YouTube channel, you'll find a discussion on just how to write a CV. And that will give you an exactly a good view on what the skills what Shailan is talking about. Because coming from my own experience again, when I was new to New Zealand, I was not aware of how to write a skill. So, I had a 10 years experience in film and television production, and I didn't know what the skill-based CV is all about. So many people may not be aware. So that's a very good guide where we have a master class in CV building. They actually explain you how you can take out the skills out of your experience and how that can be transitioned into new industries and careers. Yeah. So yeah, please do have a look at that. And that really highlights what Shailen was saying.
And even on LinkedIn, you can list 50 skills. Up to 50 skills. And you don't have to be an expert at all of them. The ones you could be developing, the ones that you're interested in, and that will also help you identify. So that is, like I said, my key skills: communication, relationship building, and they're the ones that I'm interested in. So they're the roles that I look for.
And also, I just also put another point to Kristen. What you should do is sometimes, if you just jot down your skills on paper, it may help you to rediscover your own self. Because that's what happened to me when I jotted down my skills. I realized, oh my God, okay, I can sell things. So actually, I shifted from media production to media marketing after doing that skill analysis of my own self. And now I'm a marketing professional. So 10 years back, I would have never seen myself doing marketing and sales. So sometimes it's a good exercise to know your own self. And when you're in a new situation, it can really help you.
Great advice there. What is the most valued here in NZ to get jobs in terms of further education, self-learning, boot camps, local education certificates? Look, again, that's, Hazel, I think a question that you need to work out for yourself as to which route you want to go down. I think there's no wrong answer. There's no perfect answer. There's no silver bullet here. I think you need to ultimately, Gary, and just going on the last point, work out what skills you already have, where there may be some gaps for the roles or the careers that you're looking for, and then how do you fill those gaps, and whether that is through some work experience, through some more junior positions, or is that through by learning, and then what sort of learning environment. I went to university for 3 years, but I don't know if I can potentially do that again, that like long-term study. I prefer micro credentials, short bites. So LinkedIn Learning, usually I do courses which are, half an hour max. I'm not a great reader. So that's, again, means that, I struggle in those sort of learning environments. So you need to work out what's a good learning environment for you. There's more options now. It used to be, go to school, go to university, maybe do some further education in a classroom environment, and then off you go. But you've got so many options now. Even just networking, learning, connecting with people within the industry that you're interested in. You may learn more in an hour conversation with someone who's doing that role than in a course. So I think it's really working out where, and just trying to plug those gaps with what's best for you, what's the best learning environment for you, and also thinking about time, financial implications. Is there a cost to some of these courses or not? Potentially, you may look at what funding's out there, what support is out there that may help you then decide which route you want to go down. So it is a little bit more difficult now, but there are more opportunities. And so take that time to just think about potentially which route you want to go down, and then ask people in the industry, because ultimately you don't want to waste any time. And so find out from them which is the best route to go down. In terms of if any interest in becoming a bookkeeper and accountant, then learn the software that accountants and bookkeepers use, like MYOB. And you may do that by a paid course. You may do that by free courses. Ultimately, as long as you're proficient within the software, then that's the key thing.
And just to add one more point there, just out of experience, so even as a employee, as an employer as well now, that and we advise that to a lot of migrants here, that getting a certification, I think, is very key. And to be able to accepted your skill to be accepted in the job market, because unfortunately when migrants come from overseas countries, we have to prove ourselves a little bit more than the local people. And also, if you see from an employer perspective, how would he know how good or efficient you are in that particular software or skill? So like we even recommend that even for basics like MS Office and MS Word and Excel, try and get a certification, so that an employer can understand what is your proficiency level in those softwares, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, Shailan.
Yeah, no. Okay, and I think, look, ultimately, you need to highlight and to show that skill, and whichever way you can show that is key. And so, and also then thinking about whatever role you want to go into, that it may already tell you what certification that you need. And obviously, if you're looking further down the line, the CA route or the CPA route, that sort of thing, you've also got, the bookkeeping associations may have some certificate in bookkeeping that you can do as well. So that research will hopefully help you decide on, then also asking people who are already at that level that you are trying to get to, what route they took, and get that advice there. But so it comes back to your network. building your network, and meeting those people that will help you.
Lovely. Any other questions? We are coming to a close of our event. So any other questions, you can, whatever, speak up or chat. So I think we have covered a lot of those points, Sherlane. So we will be sharing your details with all the attendees today. In case you want to reach out to Sherlane for any other further advice and support, you are most welcome to do that.
Yeah, I'll just put in the chat. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Happy to carry on the conversation with anyone who's interested on doing so. That is, I found it a great way of helping me build my network within the education space. I don't believe me and Gary have ever met, but we have connected through LinkedIn,
Yes.
and started our relationship there. Hopefully, post this current situation, once we get to level 2, we'll be able to catch up for a coffee. But that's how relationships, are building now. They don't have to be face to face. You can have a virtual relationship, and a very good relationship with people. I'd seen the work that Gary was doing, so when he asked me to come and join and support this session, it was a lot easier for me to say yes, because I knew what he was talking about. It wasn't out the blue. And that's through that connecting and seeing that network. And he had obviously promoted the association. He was, showing that, sharing his experience, what he had done. I had seen that, and likewise he had seen me. And so if you guys aren't utilizing tools like LinkedIn, then start doing so, because people will then start to approach you ultimately. And that may take time, but that's obviously where you're looking to do.
And no, definitely, and thanks, Shailan, for pointing that out, because this is also very important for job hunting today. And I keep requesting everyone that if you don't have a LinkedIn profile yet, please create one. And what Shailan is talking about is having a digital footprint. Today we are in a Google space. You get hired on the digital space. If you're not on LinkedIn, you will not get the best jobs anyways. So even, for example, we do have all our social media channels are there. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, but the best jobs we post is, generally on LinkedIn. And if there's no other questions, so thank you so much, Sherlane.
No worries. Thank you.
And being so proactive. And really, we met on LinkedIn. We didn't know each other. I was inspired by Sherlane and what he does. And I was really hoping one day he comes to our workshop. Little did I know that it would be so soon and so fast. So that's all credit to him and his, motivation to help others. So really thankful to you, Sherlane, for sharing your experience with us.
No, I appreciate the opportunity, and thanks for everyone for joining.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Excellent.
All of you for joining, and please spread the good word to your friends, family, anyone who needs support. This is a time we need to reach out to our friends and family. Any kind of support, help, advice we can give each other. Do share feedback and give us some advice as well. What more do you want to look into? Any other workshops you think we can cover to answer your questions? We'll be happy.